actually, my whole life, this talk today is going to be all around food. Even my near-death experience. And my next book, Your Fate is in Your Hands, I'm retitling it. I once was a medium and now I'm a large. It's a badass cookbook. Okay, so imagine this, 1961, I'm 13. I don't know if I should tell you how it happened first. Yeah, I'll do it. All right, so I'm coming home from school. This is suicide attempt. So I'm coming home from school and invited 3 new girlfriends. This was at a Catholic school, Bishop of London, and we had a brand new uniform because I was in 9th grade. And I was so proud of it because I just picked up the uniform. I had my little green uniform on, a little blazer and skirt. And I have 2 new girlfriends. I bring them over to my house, and you know how when you get through with school, you're always hungry. You know, you sort of want a snack. I said, girls, you want something to eat? So I took 2 pieces of Wonder, it's not funny, but 2 pieces of Wonder Bread and smeared some peanut butter, you know, Skippy peanut butter on it. And my mother, who is the mother of 8 children, Dougie, Donna, Dana, Debbie, Dennis, Daryl, Danny, and Mary Catherine. That's her story. And in fact, I saw them all this weekend. And I'm so glad. I don't think anybody's here. I didn't want them to come to this. They're on a boat trip. So anyways, I put this peanut butter sandwich, and I'm eating it. And I said, Mom, I want you to meet my girlfriends. This is Susan McCormick. And my mother says, you're eating between meals. And she, I'm making her sound like a witch. She takes the peanut butter sandwich and she goes into my nose, in through my hair, smeared it. It was so humiliating. It was just like so humiliating. My girlfriends left, and at that moment, I gotta have a drink of water. I gotta have a sandwich. At that moment, I have to get a drink of water. I have to tell you what happened. Suspenseful. I got the peanut butter up my nose, in my hair. I about had it. That was the straw. That was the peanut butter sandwich that broke the camel's back. And so anyways, I go upstairs, take all the pills in the house. Take everything. And I'm like, an hour, 45 minutes later, I'm getting unconscious, I'm getting scared. My mother says, what's wrong with you? I told you to get downstairs and help you, do whatever. I said, Mom, I'm going to die in any minute. So I told her that I was on my way out. And she said, call the doctor, I don't want to. So they take me to the emergency room. I'm unconscious, they're pumping my stomach or trying to get the stuff out of me. I have this feeling, at that moment, I'm like, throwing up and they're doing something to me. I had that moment, that was my near-death experience. I had the moment that I'd be okay, I'm gonna be okay. And this is what happened. Back then, in 1961, it was against the law to kill yourself. I mean, police would come and they wouldn't say, they didn't have intervention or anything like that, or what's going on or what's happening, or so the police, and they were like Smokey the Bandit type hats and big leather boots up to here. And he says, young lady, why did you try to kill yourself? And I'm just recovering, like I'm crying, like, that cry that little kids have, or people who are hysterical. I don't know what kind of cry that is, like crying like that. My mother wouldn't let me have a peanut butter sandwich. And then he started to laugh, my mother started to laugh, and I started to laugh. But I really wanted to say, you got a minute, years of sexual abuse, beating, whatever that was going on all the way to that time. But in that near-death experience, I had this feeling that this beautiful woman, last time I didn't talk about beautiful woman with blonde hair. Let me get blonde. So the beautiful woman with blonde hair was lifting me up. I felt she was like an angel. I didn't see Jesus or God. I had a feeling that I was surrounded by light and I saw beauty all around me. And after that experience, I had a transformation. I stopped being the victim, the victim of things. So I stood up to my father. The next time he got ready to touch me or hit me, I said, don't you ever touch me again. And I started to change. But the one thing that I got from that experience, that I could make people laugh. And you would think, and also my whole life, I'm 62, I'll be 62 soon. I was always worried about my weight. And I wasn't a fat kid, but I always struggled with like 10 or 15 to 20 pounds. Now it's much more than that. But so it was always about dreaming of being a star, or dreaming of being tall and thin and blonde. And my life it's went full circle. So I had that peanut butter sandwich and a near-death experience, humped my stomach. And then since that time, my mother would sort of use that against me. She's mentally ill. She's trying to kill herself, you know? She said, you remember that time you tried to kill yourself? And I was so shameful, you know, I didn't want to tell anybody about it because I felt so much shame about it. I blamed myself. If it wasn't for my sense of humor and my feeling of, if I told the truth and I could make people laugh, I would be okay. The world would be okay. I could see the good in them. Now, I've always had a psychic experience, psychic ability. Since I was a very young child, I had a big mouth, and I always saw everything. You know, I'd say, oh, Mr. Miller, my next-door neighbor, I said, he's going to die. He's got a heart attack. He's going to have, they didn't say a heart attack, but his heart hurts. And the next day, they found him, you know. So I would see things. I'd see when the girl was pregnant. I said, she's going to have a baby. You know, and then she was, you know, found out she was pregnant. I didn't know why I knew things, but I always knew it. And I think a lot of children know things. And I always knew how to get myself out of situations through, like, talking my way out of it or seeing things before they happen where I could get out of that situation. I could have been raped a couple times in New York when I lived in Manhattan. And I got in bad situations where I'd be in a car with someone and they wouldn't let me out. And I always knew how to talk my way out of it. Not that I'm saying that you should do that, but I've always had like the survival instinct. And I use my humor and my survival instinct to save my life. I mean, and that is the gift that I got through this whole experience. And you know, at 61, 48 years ago when I tried to kill myself, I think like, well, how did my life turn out? And I said how it was all revolved around food. Now I'll give you another example of food and candy, let's say. My father was a very handsome guy, but he was a sick man, he was an alcoholic. He didn't want to ever gain weight. They had this thing about gaining weight. I was a chubby little one, okay? So my father would buy, we had 8 kids, he'd buy one candy bar. And it was like, back then, I guess the Three Musketeers were a pretty big candy bar, you know, it was bigger than they make now. And he would cut it up in 8 pieces, 8 or 9 pieces. And that way, if he decided to give you one piece of candy, you know, everybody would have a piece. But usually, he would come home like bombed, drunk, and he'd want to eat the candy, okay? But who ate the candy? I ate the candy. So he'd wake us up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I don't know why I'm laughing about this now, but he'd wake us up and line us up by the refrigerator, all of us standing there. And he'd say, I won't hit you. I promise I won't hit. If you just tell me who ate the candy. Who ate that candy bar? So no one said anything. So you're going to stand here all night until you tell me who ate the candy bar. And so I said, okay. You know, I thought to myself, I'll tell him. You know, he's not going to hit me. And so I told him, and of course, I beat the crap out of me. But do you think it would stop me eating the candy bar? He would put the candy bar there. I would always go back to the candy, you know, and I'd get beaten and stuff. So what does this have to do with full circle? You know, the peanut butter sandwich, the candy bar. Well, it just seems interesting that on my 60th birthday, I made fudge for my 8 brothers and sisters because it was something, you know, when I was disappointed, I'd always make fudge, so I got really good at making fudge. I would say, I didn't get this, so I'd make some fudge. And my brother says, you know, you're so good at this. This tastes so good. Why don't you sell it? I go, yeah, sure. We're going to sell fudge. And he said, no, you should. It's made with oat milk. It's like fantastic. I said, no one's going to buy any fudge. This day and age, who's going to buy fudge? And he said, what would you call it if you sold it? I said, I'll call it what you used to call me. Badass. And then I thought, oh my God, this is such a good name. And it's like, it was such a good name. And so I had an artist draw the donkey and do the donkey, and you saw the picture of the donkey. And I went for it, and I trademarked it, and I'm telling you, it somehow, it was like full circle, you know. Now I get the last laugh, being the fat ass person. No, so I say, hey, you're meeting Donna McCue. I'm the face of the fat ass bunch. All right, so it's becoming like a huge, huge hit in New York. And I live in the Hamptons where all these people, fudge, I'm at the farmer's market, like, you know, they're 8 o'clock in the morning, and what are you getting? Tomatoes, organic vegetables, you know, that's what you go to the farmer's market for. And then I have a huge sign, badass. And it's like, badass, come here. So I not only have this intuitive ability, because I am psychic, and that's the way I really made my living, doing comedy and psychic stuff. And people come there and they say, badass fudge. You know, and they say, where'd you get that? Why would anybody want to eat fudge so early in the morning? I said, just take a taste. I don't want you to buy any. Just take a taste. It's got ecstasy in it. And I say to people, maybe I'll try some. They try it. But it's the ability to bring sweetness. I've always been longing, since I was a little girl, to have that sweetness in my life. And love, sweetness, and what chocolate or candy meant to me was a feeling of taking me out of my body, literally, and putting something in my body. But it would take me out of my body to a sweet place. It would be like an escape, like somebody would, I guess people would use drugs, but now with the chocolate, it's made me balanced, you know, not that I eat it anymore. Actually, I got up to here making fudge, you know. So, I mean, but it's full circle of sweetness. Let me tell you about when I wrote my book. I don't know, anybody read my book? Is there anyone who read my book? Okay. I'll tell you a story that happened since I wrote the book. Now, I talk about in the book that our hands represent all our feelings. Each part of our hands represent a part of a spiritual part of ourselves, and our ego, like our thumb, is our will. It has to do with money and forgiveness and pointing the finger. And the pinky finger is sense of humor, creativity, and different, you know, laughter, and, you know, like that little cleverness. And each line in our hand is connected to a part, like our heart is the heart line, where this is part over by our pinkies, where children are and relationships. Okay, so every part of our hand is connected to a part of our life. And since this thing happened, my father died, and I went to see him because I was estranged from my father because he was the one who was very violent and, you know, whatever. But I forgave him, and I figured I could go see him. You know, he's dying in the hospital. He has an aneurysm. So I bring my book. You know, and he's like, can't even talk. You know, he's like on his way out, like weak. And I said, Dad, I brought you the book. You know, because I figured you can't read the book, you know, so I bring him the book. I brought you the book. And I said, oh, let me read you a page. And then it had something about my father. And I said, I can't read that. So I go to another page. Oh, I can't read that. And then I finally said, Dad, I'll tell you what the book's about. And then I said, oh, the thumb means this, the pinky means that. You know, I go, just like I told you, it means forgiveness. And my father, who I was talking to for about an hour and a half, didn't say anything, wasn't even moving. All of a sudden he said, what does this mean? And I said, oh, he's alive, he's alive. So I mean, I'm thinking, you know, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So I take that experience on his way out into the world. He was still giving me the finger, you know. So, but I'm thinking, you know what? I celebrate everything, even bad experiences now. I don't feel like a victim. I don't feel like that life has given me horrible things. I think everything I've received in this lifetime is an opportunity to turn it around and be creative to whatever I have. And that's why that I think that each person that I meet, I try to see the goodness in them. And even when I read them, I really think that they have also the opportunity to turn their life around. That it's just like that movie you'll see next week, that your thoughts create your life, truly. And I don't know, people who read my book, they realize that I've been married 28 years, and I met my husband doing a reading. He's sitting down, and I'm looking at his hand, and I say to him, oh, you're a writer? He says, yes. And I said, oh, also you're so close to your parents? And then he tells me that he takes care of them. And then I say, you're going to marry me. It just comes out of my mouth. And he said, you're going to marry me. And he says, well, if I'm going to marry you, should I take you to dinner first? And we've been married like 28 years. And so the thing is, I say, if you tell enough people, somebody will marry you. All right, so let me just tell you how, even in my comedy act, they all have to deal with food. Because I was looking over my life and I was thinking, gee, you know, I'm selling this fudge. And when I do comedy, it was always about, oh, you know, I'd say, oh, I can't lose weight. I tried diet pills, but it just makes me eat faster. And I'd say, you know, people ask me, you know, you're 61, you have such a beautiful skin. What do you use? You know, and I say, Haagen-Dazs. I had so much Haagen-Dazs when I was pregnant. My son came out speaking Danish. There he is. Say hi, Hans. He's in the back with a chocolate swirl on the side of his face. So, I mean, they were all jokes, like, similar to that. But there's one joke that I want to say. Not a joke, it's a true story. And I say, oh, I'm so glad I'm married. You know why? Because when I was single, the last date I had with a guy, he asked me if I ever, you know, do a menage a trois, if I ever been with another woman. And I said, yeah, I have, Sarah Lee. And I like her frozen. I make myself laugh. That was one thing. I would be up on stage. And why I basically stopped doing comedy. One time I was up there and I was doing pretty good. And then I did a joke that hit me like it was real. You know, it wasn't funny. It was like, this is not funny. This is who you are. It was like a split second, just like a near-death experience. It's a split second. And I started to cry, but not like, it was sort of like the tears started coming out of my eye, and it was like big, juicy, dripping thing. Like, say if I was having like a breakdown up here, and people were going like, and I was like that, and I thought, well, you know, I was frozen for that one moment. So, and then I said, now I got your attention. Then I went on with the comedy act, but the thought was, you know, each moment, you can be real and you can be so alive. You know, you can be so alive by telling the truth. As long as I think it's great. I think everybody should get up, not today, but get up here and tell us a really juicy story, something you don't want anybody to know about. And it somehow brings you to freedom. It brings you to a place of, oh, I'm alive. And I know there's lots of things that I could be talking about. So I have had a lot of experiences with close friends, my contemporaries, dying. And I'm always asked to speak at their funeral because I'm there when they have ovarian cancer and they're in the last phase. And I'm privileged, as you said in hospice, I'm privileged to be with people I love when they pass over. I had no fear of dying. I think that was the blessing of the near-death experience a long time ago. And I have no feeling of, oh, life is shit either. You know, I'm feeling like everything's a blessing. Everything's an adventure. And if I could pass that feeling out, which you can't, that hope inside of us that we can turn that awful name, calling me a fat ass as a kid, into a fabulous product. I mean, if we can turn our life into hope, you know, really hope. And I believe in every one of us, if we could take those near-death experiences and start seeing that each moment we have the possibilities of great intuitive awareness, great hope for others, to start seeing good in others. See, I think that was the gift that I got. Not only psychically, to see when I hold someone's hand, and the people who are having readings with me, you'll see. And I hold their hand, and I see in them, and they may not see it in themselves, what they could be doing, or where they could be going, or where their gifts are. And I always say, if you don't leave the house, nothing will happen. You know, it's up to you. You know, it's up to you to make things happen in your life. And I believe, too, that if you can think it, you can have it. And you really, if you think it, your intention, your focus, because, now going back to this, sounds like a commercial, but going back to the fudge, I say, I'm going to live my life with the 4 F's. Okay, what are they? Fudge, focus, follow through, and if it doesn't work out, you know, it's like, if you can give your all and then you're not going to kill yourself if it doesn't work out. You're just going to give yourself, give it to God, give your all to everything you do. Now I'm going to give a time we can answer questions, and you can ask me anything about yourself or anything you want to ask. I may not be able to answer it, or maybe I will. And but before I do that, I want to do a poem that I say at everybody's funeral because I love it. And I say it at people's weddings too. Because I think, it's this new celebration. So this is it. When I'm gone again, vanished with the wind at dawn, I'll not forget you. No high-flown words can be of use, because parting is the rule of life. As hearts divide, evolve, grow ripened sons of other loves. We touch but briefly, two tangent souls, one incandescent instant, that drift apart like falling leaves. Yet who would claim this lucent summer sky or halt the shooting star in flight? All things must end, so farewell but not goodbye. For I'll see you again, that well-loved candid grace of yours, perhaps in young white birches. I think I said that already. and smiling, be a little less alone. Thank you. So you can ask me some questions now. Pardon?
What's the name of the poem and the author?
It's called Adios.
By?
It was written for me by a boyfriend back in the 70s, and I can't remember his name, but it's never been published. When I used to drink a little bit, I'd say, I read this poem. I read this book, but I didn't write it. Hi!
I've been having for several years ulcers on my legs like that. Do you see it ever going away?
Well, I always say that, I'm not a medical intuitive, and I'm sure you have seen a doctor, yeah, and it just keeps on reoccurring. Well, I don't like to give medical advice, but I do feel that we create, I'm not saying I'm blaming you, but we create a lot of our illnesses, and different parts of our body is a part that's like, a part that doesn't want to stand up on your own 2 feet. My knees are going now, and I thought, just before my father died, he had the same knee problem that I did, like he was walking like that. And that's how, actually I'm walking pretty good. I think I got a healing. But I had the same thing, and I thought, gee, I was so critical of my father, and look, there's my knees. And back to your legs, it represents like wanting to stand on your own 2 feet. It's also breaking out with boils or breaking out with ulcers. I'm not saying this is true for you, but it could be issues that you haven't faced in your life. And see a dermatologist. No. Yes, well, yes.
Do you see me publishing a book that I've written?
Well, you know what? I'm not going to do these type of readings now. I just, I answered that. I'm not going to be doing, I need a little, But I want to say for you, get a foster child. Foster child, don't think about adopting. If they let you have, she wants to adopt, and if they let you have a foster child, if they allow that, that's a step in the direction that you can show your love. Yes?
Donna, when people ask you questions, you repeat the question.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
Question before you answer.
Okay.
So, yes, on.
This young lady right here, what's your name? Yes.
Charlotte.
Charlotte wants to know, will she publish a book? Let me see, I'll take a quick look, but if I do this, everybody else will want it, You just have to say no. What's the book on?
It's the name of the book is From Fear to Freedom.
You could self-publish it.
I know, but
Well, you can self-publish it. I don't see you getting an agent right now. Okay, so I want to tell you the truth. Okay. What's another question?
How did you get into palmistry?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I usually tell that story. All right, after I had that near-death experience, how did I get into palmistry was the question. How did I get into palmistry? I was on my way to see a social worker after I had that incident of trying to kill myself. They made me go to a social worker. And, and I thought it was so lame, you keep on repeating that your father, that they weren't helping me. I mean, they weren't, I needed somebody with some intervention. So on the way to going there, I saw this thing in the hotel, the Syracuse Hotel. It had a palm in the hotel, like in a book, like my book. But it said, Florine Adele, she will read your hand and read your handwriting. I think it was $15 or $20. It's $20. And that's how much I had to pay the social worker. So I said, screw the social worker. So I took the $20 and I went into the hotel, and here's what she said. She took my hand and she said, someday people will come to you for what you know. Okay, I don't know what's that. I said, will that mean I'd be an actress? She says, no, more like a teacher of some kind. And I said, I listened. I said, well, tell me some other things. And she said, in another lifetime, your father tried to kill you. And I said, that made sense, even though I couldn't prove another lifetime, but he was certainly beating the shit out of me on a regular basis. So I figured if he was lucky, he would have gone all the way. So I thought that was pretty good. And then she said, someday you're going to live on an island. I wrote this. I still have all this stuff that she wrote inside the book. And you'll be married late in life, in your late 30s, and have 2 boys. So everything she said came true. So I was fascinated. How did this woman know this by looking at my hand? I knew that I always had this intuitive belief, but I didn't know. So I started studying palmistry, and I started studying with people who knew about it. And then, since I was so focused on it, I learned how to do it. And like when I published the book, I had to read 15 editors from Simon & Schuster, and they just got through seeing a couple of famous psychics that you probably know of, and they didn't like them. They got me and they paid me a large advance, and I was, it was great. I was really grateful for that. And that happened at 50 years old I did that. Okay, what's your question?
So, I apologize, I missed some of the beginning of your presentation, but when you do a palm reading, it's beyond what another palm reader.
It's intuitive, but it's not, like your lines on your hands change every 3 to 6 months. Did you know that? Yeah, and then there's certain markings that well, this woman over here, I don't know what your first name is. Andrea, she asked me when I was waiting to go on, she says, what does it mean when this line, which is the love line, goes straight across? That was her love line, this line right here. And also your right and left hand means something different. I'm not going into a palmistry thing, but the hand you write with is the hand that's your dominant hand. Let's say if you are left-handed, that would be your dominant hand. The other hand is your original road map. And sometimes your right and left hand look 2 different ways. And you need to be where the problem is, because you can see that in the hand. What was the question?
I was asking how intuitive it was and how.
Oh yeah, well that's the focus. Like somebody wants to do tarot cards, maybe they're intuitive, but they need a focal point. Some people would read jewelry. I chose the hand because it's so personal, and I also like the philosophy that this is one of the oldest science of all. It's what goes back 5,000 years. Actually, it talks about it in the Bible. The handprints on the walls in the caves. There was all something to do with the hands. Any other question? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I, like so many other people, am very concerned about having enough money to retire. Do you feel anything intuitively regarding the stock market for the next few months or a year?
Okay. No, having money to retire. Actually, my 2 specialties. I'm changing now since it's all about lunch. But my 2 specialties. Now it's my new passion. And it's so different because when I read at home, it's $300 an hour. My budget is $5. There's something wrong with that picture, don't you think? Okay, $5 to $300. All right. So, how's the stock market? Well, what do you think? I'm going to answer that. But what do you think of what's going on in the world now? Don't you think it's pretty amazing with those Ponzi schemes, and especially in New York, people screwing other people out of their life savings, their retirement?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, and my feeling is a lot of people are hiding their money. They're just finding safes or cashing in. I hear all sorts of stories. And they don't trust the key thing, the new thing
Right.
is there's not trust anymore.
Right.
You know, not trust in the government, not trust in big banks. The banks are all like, everybody's a thief. So what does it say about you? No, but what does it say about me? What does it say about the universe? So how do I feel now? I'll tell you how I feel. And I feel that I'm driven by rhythms in life. I'm driven by, I can do that. I'm driven by going back to the past. I'm going back to the farmer's market. People should grow their own food. I'm all for people not spending more than they have. And I always tell people, if you can't afford something, don't do it, you know? Put your priorities right, you know? And I believe that the stock market, I think it's going to be down for another 2 years and it's going to go up. 2 years. 2 years is my answer.
I'll be
Do you see a
dead.
big correction that's
No, I think we've had most of the crashes. I think it's going to be low for a while. And the real estate, it's going to start coming up, depending on where you are. Like in big cities and like New York, and where I am, the real estate didn't go down very much. But it's like where you are, you know? And so my feeling for you is trust your gut instincts. I believe all of us have natural gut instincts, and especially the people who've had near-death experience. When that nurse pulled that catheter out of you there? you had a really experience, not only physically, but it took you out of your body. Well, you don't have to go out of your body and float around to have a real intuitive experience. All you have to do is start listening to yourself. Really listening to your body, listening to yourself. Okay, what's the next question? Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
it's a two-part question. Intuitively, can you predict your own future? And the second part of it is you mentioned Simon & Schuster published your book. Did you see them coming forward to do that? Did you predict that, or how did that all happen?
Okay. The question was, did I see Simon & Schuster publish my book? That was part 2. The first question was, can I read myself? Well, lately I have been. You know, lately, even if it doesn't make sense, I always say, when I'm at the farmer's market, you're in the presence of the next Mrs. Badass. You know, things have Mrs. Fields, you know. I feel, no, forget, I'm not trying to sell you the fudge, you know, I really just gave it away, you know. But the thing is, I feel spreading sweetness into people's lives. Even when I thought of this, just telling this project, I felt the light bulb went off like no other time. And it didn't make sense to do it at this time. You know, people are like, oh, the fattest people in the world and we're all out of shape and stuff. Intuitively, I felt everything I needed to do this. I packed it in individual bags, portion control. I scientifically figured out you could freeze it. You could take one piece out at a time, take an old-fashioned thing and use it to the highest level. It's all about the vibration of what you do. It has to do with how much you do something, but it's the vibration and your intentions. And they couldn't stop me from eating that candy bar. You know, it was cut up in 12 pieces and underneath the freezer. You know what? I had to have it. If you're meant to do something, you're going to do it. But take it to a higher level. Bless your food. And I believe people should grow their food if they can, even in a window box. And start going back to a time that family, friends, we hold people in high esteem, that we don't gossip about each other, that women support each other. You know, women see the good in them instead of being catty and say, well, you know, she had a facelift, she doesn't look good. You know, to start seeing, gee, you know, she's terrific, or God, you know, and support each other, you know? And then when people are lonely, you can tell when they butt into your conversation and you weren't even talking to them. This happened this morning, this woman. I felt the people said, what's with her? And I said, you know, she's lonely. She wants some attention. It doesn't hurt for us to talk to her, you know, when she comes back again. What does it hurt to listen to her? People need love. People need attention. Okay, so yes, I do. I'm starting to be a kinder, nicer, badass fudge person. You know, I think that's my message. And you know, it doesn't have to be gloom and doom. I don't like to read death. I see death, but I don't read it, because, you're responsible for your life. I'm not gonna predict it. There could be a miracle another second. Go ahead.
I'm just curious, what are some of the updates you want to make?
Oh, yes, so here's the updates. I'm going to also talk about 9/11, because on 9/11, which was a couple days ago, I lost about 400 of my clients. And that's just before 9/11, I did a party out in the Hamptons, and this guy owned a stockbroking company, and it was the one they lost the most people. And he lived in Switzerland, and his brother ran it. His brother died. But anyways, and I said to him at the cocktail party with his wife and all the family, I said, "You're going back to work." He said, "No, I'm retired. I'm living in Switzerland," because he didn't want to pay the tax, whatever. I said, "No, you're going back to work." And every person that was there at that party, I said, "This is a year of endings." I didn't know it was, I don't know about that. I didn't know that 9/11 was going to happen, but every person I saw there, I said, "This is time to really look at your life and see what's important and what's not important." And after that happened, I really was depressed. I'm thinking, if I'm so goddamn psychic, why can't I predict stuff like that? And what if I could? Well, could I save anyone? No. So what's the use of being psychic if you really can't? This is what I was saying, and I was very, very depressed. I was eating a lot of fat ass fudge. I wasn't making fudge. I was eating juicy fruits. Okay, so so I'm going to talk about 9/11, and I'm also going to talk about some other intuitive experiences with my children, and what I've learned through my parents, and how I've learned to forgive. I used to have this with my mother, and I still do, but it's different. I'm tolerant, I'm kind. I say to her, when she's mean to me, and she'll say mean things to me, I say to her, I said, "Mom, I know you really love me, but this is the way you want to express yourself. It's okay, I'm just going to take a walk." I don't try to change people that are that way. I just walk away, walk away. I don't try to it's like going to a hardware store for oranges, You're not going to get you're not going to get the oranges there, So I realized that you've got to accept people the way they are, or you just don't have to be with them. I've really matured. Maybe not to you, but to me, I've come a long way. So I like myself better, and I understand life better. And I hope to continue on this path to be more generous, more loving. I realized from 5 years ago, I'm so different than I was 5 years ago. And the good key message is, we should all give till it hurts. You know what I mean? Like, when you want to give a $1 tip, and that, you should give like $2, or you need $1.25. I mean, whatever it is, you just should push yourself. When you don't want to be nice to someone, just give yourself try to stretch yourself a little longer. That's a muscle that we need to do. Start loving each other more, listening better, and not being so self-involved. And I was I'm still self-involved, but not to the extent I was in the past. I thought like a child, the world revolved around me. And the world revolves around all of us, but in a different way. If we can get out of ourselves and start having compassion for others. And I'm not just doing rhetoric. I really mean that, because, I don't know, it not only makes you feel better, but life is short. Oh, here's another story I want to tell you, and then I'll answer another question. I was talking about the 13, and telling yourself, I was talking to somebody about, I was 13, I wanted to kill myself. I found out that a person in my best friend's building, she had a fight with her mother, a 13-year-old girl. She jumped, instead of working it out, the mother and her were fighting, she jumped from the balcony, ended her life. So, this is very common, that impulse, like, well, I'm going to kill myself. This is, thank God it was just peanut butter sandwich, what I mean? But I could, if I jump from, that's it. And what happens to the souls? I don't have all the answers. What happens to the soul that kills himself? It's not a good thing. It's better, like, so they're mentally ill, and there's all these different excuses, but it's better to work it out. It's better to, I don't know, there's a lot of this happens. I have my feelings in there, but I want to push it. Anybody else has a question? Yes, back there, lady.
because of children and people everywhere that are suicidal, that are treated verbally, not in a loving, kind, nurturing way, because of bullying. I've been studying Goldie Words Can Heal, and I've been trying to spread that word, and I'm wondering, I really want to get to the schools or offices and see that the parents, the teachers, and the children are on the same page, sort of learning how to nurture each other so that the violence stops and that they find peace within themselves. And that's kind of what I desperately want to work on. I don't know if you see, if you can tell that I have any hope to be
Well,
able
you know,
to
if that's your intention, and if you come from your own experience, you know, and say this is why you'd like to set up some sort of program or some sort of conversation for teenagers. I have talked to charter schools and about palmistry. You know, everybody wants to hear about palmistry, but I end up really talking about suicide. But I use the palmistry as a thing. You've got to get in there and get their attention. You know, that's. So I believe that if you come from your heart and you talk about your own experience, there is so much prejudice against mental illness, and you know we don't think of it as mental illness. We think of it as like we don't think of the same thing as diabetes or anything like that. It's like a stigma, and there's more to my story, but it's not all mine. My mother, after that, when I was depressed and down as a teenager, she had me locked up in one of those horrible over the flu cuckoo's nest place. But the thing is, since I decided I was going to have a good time, I should write about that. That's in the book too. I didn't write about that, but I'm going to write about that because actually I look back and I see the injustice in the world for people that throw other people away just because you can't control them. And what's the difference between mental illness, real mental, like schizophrenia, and creativity? And there's a lot of fine lines, and then people are so, they just throw them out in the street and they're homeless and they're, you know. There's a lot of things we can work on. And if you can work on that from your own experience, instead of going from a high place and say, we need to all talk, you say, the reason I feel this way is that my son or I had this experience and I know that I can come here and share my experience.
I have.
Okay, so that's what I see you making a difference if you do it that way.
I do.
Is there another question? Yes. Hi.
Hi. Do you have any suggestions on how one could do exercises or discover how to reach deep into one's intuitive self?
Yes, I do have. I have the answer. I do. And in fact, when I used to give workshops, and I did do a workshop, and this is the key thing, and you can all try this. This doesn't cost any money. And it's actually worked for me. And I went to Syracuse University for entrepreneurial and corporate venturing, how to use your intuition to make money, or how to use your intuition to find a man, or how, you know, I didn't say that like that, but this all worked. This worked for me, it works for people, and it works for people who are in their head a lot. And there's two things. I believe if you can project yourself through writing, you can write down, you write a letter to somebody, like write a letter to your friend right here and say, and you do September 12th, is that the 12th day? September 12th, 2011. And you write like automatic writing, and you project yourself that all these wonderful things have happened, or all these things have happened that you would like to happen in 2 years in advance. I did that. You know, you just have to think. You have. I feel if you can think it and you can write it down, it can happen. And you know, a lot of people won't even write good things. They say, "Oh, no way would I ever be this," or "No way can I live in the ocean," or live in a mansion," or you know. I even thought small myself, you know, because I was trying to think that. So I said, "I want a 3-bedroom house near the water," you know. I'd like to be married to a man that doesn't drink, that likes women. I got everything I wanted. I didn't say, wish I would have had a garage and, you know, and a better roof, you know, but, you know, you have to be a little more detailed. But I believe those things can happen, you know? If you can think it and you can see like it's already happened. A lot of us will not allow ourselves ourselves to be happy. We get more energy out of being a victim and complaining and, oh, they did it to me. You know, if you could hear yourself, some of you people, if you could hear yourself like I hear you. I mean, in the readings, you know? So that's why I have a sense of humor. Okay.
Knowing that you were at a reunion, or still are.
Yeah, oh, they're on a cruise and I'm here. Yeah.
How do you deal with your siblings? Have you seen, as you've changed, have you seen changes in your relationships with them? Have you been able to help them change a little?
Well, there were two people in my life, in my family, that my younger sister, who I never got along with, Mary, was born on my mother's birthday, and I used to blame her. I not blame her, but I didn't like her just because she was born on my mother's birthday, because it was, oh, I'm not going to tell you the sign, but, you know, and then I found all the wrong things with that sign, and Mary's just like my mother, you know. And now, and she does rhyme me just like my mother, you know, and my mother likes her the best. My mother's a wealthy woman. I just want to say, my mother's wealthy, but she's done a lot of wonderful things, and she deserves good things in her life. And I'm trying to look at her as the glass half full instead of half empty. And, you know, there for the grace of God, I see myself in her too, you know? So I'm trying to be more compassionate. And what I see with my sister, it's, you know, I love them all. I felt so blessed. And I was truly, and this is not for me, I was the scapegoat. Donna's mentally ill. She thinks she's psychic. She's it. And, you know, anything I would do good, they would never applaud it. But now that I'm doing badass bunch, they love to say, Donna's got a business called badass bunch. So, and I'm laughing. And I said, well, I have to say, the wedding, beautiful wedding in Chicago. I said, because everybody's giving cheers, and I said, I want to thank my family. I want to thank all of my brothers and sisters who are here with me. I haven't been with them in many years, and now I'm together. And if it wasn't for my older brother, Doug, calling me fat ass for many years and loving my fudge, I wouldn't have created this. And my mother, you know, so I brought it all full circle. And it was sort of like making fun of me, but I get the last laugh, you know what I mean? It was great, and I love them. I love my brothers and sisters, and I love being with them. And, you know, my brother in the church, he gained, the one that was the best looking, gained a lot of weight. He's got this big belly that looks like he could have a heart attack any minute, and he was sweating profusely, and he said he had my head, I got this terrible headache, and I'm thinking, oh my God, he's getting an aneurysm. And so what I did, I couldn't do anything. I said, you sure you're all right? You know, I talked to a doctor, he's a doctor here. And I just sat there during the wedding, and I prayed for him. I prayed, he didn't go, I feel you healed. You know, I just blessed him in my heart. And I said how I loved him, and how, you know, I hope that he finds a way to take better care of himself, and that he's okay right now. I mean, that's all you can do. You can't save anybody. Even when I read people, I'll give you 2 examples about near-death experience. And you know how people like to talk to the dead? I say I don't talk to the dead. I don't read the dead unless they pay me in advance. That's one of my jokes. But truly, I pick up on people who have lost people they loved, and it shows up in their hand, too. It's like a guardian angel fact. And I don't know if we have enough time, but if I had a blackboard, I would show you where you all could have the experience of what I see and see if you have it, you know? I can't read everyone now, and I don't want you to either. I have enough people to read the next few days. But is there another question somebody wants to? Yes?
Did you say you had another near-death experience?
Yes, I've had a couple of them,
Okay.
you know, and I've had them. I was listening to somebody talk about how out-of-the-body experiences. I've had this experience many times, and I don't know if I'm dreaming, and sometimes when I'm dreaming, I feel it's real, that I can raise myself up. Now, I'm going to show you how I do it, and I'm not going to raise myself up. I mean, it would be great if I could do that, but hold on. In my dream, I go like this. I go like this, and my body raises up to as high as I want to go. All I have to do is this. And it's sort of like I'm above it all. Not above, you know, I can just above the streets, and I'm not floating, or I'm just raising up, and I'm floating around above the trees. And it's an out-of-body experience. And I've also had it where my body is floating over the towns and I'm seeing all the roofs. But I'm close enough, not like an airplane, but I'm close enough to see the balconies and the flowers, and those are wonderful experiences. And I feel lucky to have those, you know? And you would want to have dreams like that all the time, but I don't. And I'm not afraid of dying, you know, I don't want to die, but if, you know, if someone said to me, you know, not that I believe if someone says you got two months to live, how would I live my life any differently? I'd be just the same. I'd just be more loving than I could, be as loving as I could and see the good and be free. It's a free feeling. I feel free now. I mean, a real free feeling. If we could die, you know, if we're going to die, you should be all that you can be at that moment. And not be so attached to material things. Eat all the fudge you can eat, honey.
Yes. How did you school excuse me, how did you school yourself in your knowledge of palmistry?
Well, I would seek out professionals that blew me away, you know? And I always was fascinated by the hand. And I had a couple friends who had written many books on palmistry. Nathaniel Altman, he would be a wonderful guy to have here. He's a fantastic speaker. He's written about all the spiritual books. He's written about 27 books. He's very, very calm, very spiritual. Anyway, so he's really talented. So he was a lover of mine, and you know, I got as much information out of him as I could. Then he went gay. I'm like the girl most likely a man will go gay after being with me. Those my big balls, you know. My balls. So, but anyways, I mean, I'm taking him out of the closet or anything, so yeah. So he was a big help to me. And then I have a nature with 8 kids in my family. I was very competitive, you know, like, I did better than you. So with Nat being, you know, he's written all these books, I said, you know, I can write a book, and I've had to get more money than you could for it. And that's me. That was my old me. But I did write a book, and I got a lot of money for it because I visualized it. And I tell you, if you visualize and you feel you have something to offer, I think all things are possible. I really do. I think you shouldn't say you're too old, you're too fat, you're too stupid, you can't spell. I'm all those things. And I did it all. I'm old like that. No, but I mean, there's unbelievable possibilities. I was asked at the Olympics, do I sound like I'm bragging, but this is pretty amazing things. These all happened after 50. And when I thought life would be over after 13 or after 20, or I never got married until I was 35, you know, I thought, hey, you know how we give ourselves a limit? If you don't do this by then, you're a failure. You know, give yourself a break. You know, the best is yet to come. Those are my philosophies. And I learned a lot through being around people, this is good too, people who were better than me. I thought they were better than me. You know what I mean? I thought, you're so, you know, like they're so sweet, they're so beautiful, they're so rich, they're so smart, they're so accomplished. And then you find out you're just like them. But it's good to be around them because they've accomplished those things. You don't want to be the queen of the losers, you know? You want to be with, you know, and some people like to be with people who are not less than them. You know what I'm talking about? Like, yeah, we're all out of work, we're all miserable, yeah. We have bad teeth and we smoke a lot, you know. So I mean, you want to raise yourself up.
Yeah.
Okay, anybody else? Okay.
Hard to do.
Yes, ma'am.
Yep.
Oh, I'm going to tell your name. You told me, I know, you just told me, I'm trying to remember it. Okay, Andrea, okay, I'm ready for you.
I just have a normal person's intuition. I'm not psychic.
Yeah.
But I have a friend who feels like I'm intuitive, and she always wants me to read her. And I used to do this, but I didn't feel comfortable doing this because I don't feel like I know what I'm doing. So I stopped doing it, but I feel kind of guilty, like I should do that.
Well, I'm just saying, for years and years, I had this intuitive feeling, but I never thought very much of it, you know, until I got paid for it. And I'm just saying, Dawn, truly, how did I start professionally? I used to make fun of like est and actualization. You remember all those things? you know, and I make fun of all this stuff, you know, like my comedy thing, like, you know, and all that stuff. So, and I'd go out in the audience, I would pretend I was reading their hand. This is before, you know, I really played it. And, okay, I'm going to find a guy. Just 1 second. Here. Say this man right here was in the audience of a comedy club, and he was making a lot of noise and talking to his friend. He wasn't paying attention to me. So I go over and said, "This is an interesting man. Let me see your hand." Ooh. Wow, you've got very strong, powerful hands. And very extremely loyal, you know. In fact, you're very close to your family. And also, and he'd go, "Yeah," and I'd say, "Oh, you know, you could be this or that." Then I'd say, "And you masturbate a lot." And then he'd say,
That's the way we're made.
yeah. And they'd usually say, "That's right, but it's the wrong hand."
Good.
So that's why I was doing that and doing a lot of stuff like that, you know, reading hands, but I take some truth that I learned from my friend Nathaniel Altman, and then some shtick that I like a little, you know. So out in the audience, way in the back of the room, there was a person from HBO, home box office, when they started. They used to give out outings before they were bought by Time Life, and he said, "You know, you're really good. I'd like to have you do our outing. And it's 2 days, we'll pay you $1,000 a day." Yeah. So I said, "Wow, great." So I did that, and then I decided to have cards made. Donna McCue, psychic. Because I was getting paid $1,000 a day, and people would, for the reading, I had to read like 50 people, you know? So I was good, and I got the feedback, so I started being a professional. You know, I started claiming my gift. And back to you, Andrea, if people really want it, want your reading, you should say, "I'll be glad to do it. Do you give me $5? Say, it's very good, because people, I'm just telling you why is it good, because just like if you were a doctor, and you were a dentist, and you're cleaning your teeth, you know, people need to be respected for what they do. You're not getting paid for your gift, you're getting paid for your time, and you're being listened to. You know what I mean? You're being respected. That's why people do that. And actually, it gives you more self-esteem. And if they don't want to pay you, nobody ever wants to pay you, then you shouldn't do it. Thank you very much. Yeah, may help.
What's your take on 2012?
2012. Oh, it's
It's a joke.
what's going to happen?
Well, some people say it's the end of everything, other people say it's the dawn of the age of Aquarius.
No, you know what? I don't think that way. I haven't thought disaster. I mean, after 9/11, I had one client who lost her daughter. In fact, she called me right after 9/11, and she had a reading maybe 2 days before 9/11, and she says, "How come you didn't tell me my daughter was going to die?"
Right.
Right.
And I said, "Very interesting." And I'm not trying to get out of this. I said, "But very interesting. But when you asked about your daughter," because she asked about her 3 daughters, "I never could see her, could I?" And she says, "You're right." I said, "I couldn't see her boyfriend. I couldn't see her. I couldn't see her at all. I didn't even think she had another daughter. Didn't have any vision of what she looked like or anything." And I says, "But maybe that was the reason." I don't know. I felt bad that, you know, I felt really bad that not only that she died, but that what's the use of having this? Well, what was I going to say? "Don't let your daughter out of the house." So that the World Trade Center was going to print. Some people will do that. I don't have that vibe. I'm into laughter, sweetness, and happiness, and money. No, but I'm into being abundant. So I don't have any things, but I will look into that because I didn't even hear about that. I'm not one of those people that into that stuff. Okay, is there anything else? Yes, Christine. Yes.
Did you ever see the blonde lady again?
I don't think so.
Oh, the blonde.
I'm with you.
It's a joke.
Yes, in fact, I met her. I mean, in real life.
Okay.
And you know, this is, you know why it was always the blonde lady? It was like you're a tall, thin blonde. The tall, thin angel mother. You know, I wanted a tall, thin angel mother to say, "I love you, darling, you're so sweet." And she was like my example of lightness and being and slenderness and blonde hair. And I met somebody as a friend. You know, she became a friend. And she wanted to give me a French kiss. And I thought, hey, I'm still attractive. No, but I did meet somebody. It was a friend who became a girlfriend, you know. And she was like, but I didn't have the awe but I was sort of odd that she found me attractive. No, but that's a true story. So I mean, I don't know why I tell you everything. Why am I telling you everything? But it's true, because I realized I am the beautiful blonde. I am the angel. I am my angel. I mean, the whole illusion of somebody saving me and the angels, they're all around us. They're in you and you and you. I have to, you know, all I have to do is have it in me, and then I can see it in you. I think if there's no other questions, anybody else? Because we have a little more time. Yes, ma'am.
Was there anybody else in your family who was intuitive or psychic?
Yes, yes. My grandmother, I found out from my father and my aunt that my grandmother, who missed the Titanic, she's talked about it in the book, she used to read tea leaves. She used to read tea leaves and teacups and stuff, like, you know, take the tea, and she'd read everybody in her neighborhood, and she was quite intuitive. So I think it's passed down. And when I was doing this other exercise I told you about how to develop it, so let's say if this was an exercise we were going to do today, but we're not going to do it, but I'd have you sit with somebody you don't know, somebody you never met before. And I did this with Syracuse University, and you know, all these people from other countries, you know, they're mostly men, and they're all in their head, you know, they're not like touchy-feely, and they don't have experience. But I had them close their eyes, hold the hands of the guy, whoever next to them that they didn't know, and I walked them through doing a reading, just like I'm going to read somebody. I had them do the same prayer I say before I read someone. I thank God for my gift. I ask to tell the truth, and I ask that the information will not harm anyone, including people they haven't even met yet. And so I pray for that, and I had them say these things. You know, ask God, and repeat after me, and they all did that. And then I said, listen, you know, we're all psychic, and I'm going to prove it, because I'm going to have you read this person you don't know. But I'm going to give you an idea. I want you to start opening up that part of you. So first of all, you repeat, I am psychic. I'm psychic. Okay, so they did that. I had them holding each other's hands, closing their eyes. I didn't have them read the palm, because that was, you know, too analytical type thing. And I said, I want you to imagine where this guy lives. Does he live with his parents? These were all like 30, 35 years old. You know, they were older, their master's program. Some were older than that. So I said, do they live with their parents? What does their bedroom look like? Do they have an exercise machine there? Do they have stuff all over the floor? Are they pack rats? Are they, you know, I just gave them all sorts of different things to think about what a room would look like. Was it this, or is it that? Okay, now I'm going to be quiet, and I'm going to have you just, if you don't know what to say, just make it up. Make it up. Make it up. I want everyone, if you get stuck, just make something up. A lot of people can't make things up. They don't even have that creative thing to say, you have a bicycle there, and you know, you have a blue suit. But I said, please, just, there's no wrong answers, just keep doing it. At the end of this exercise, you wouldn't believe, I wish I had it, I do have it on tape. It was so remarkable. The people that were so fearful of being wrong are the ones that didn't get anything, you know, because you don't want to be wrong, or I don't want to make it up, you know. And they're just so stuck. And the people who could make things up got everything. I mean, you know, okay, yeah, and then they got a picture of their house, and not that I'm saying you have to make things up, but it's all in us. Even if we make it up, it's in us. So that's another exercise you could do. And it's really fun with a group of people, because it opens them up. And it's like fun to test ourselves. Another fun thing to do is play with a deck of cards. This is how it was tested. You've seen this on like Ghostbusters. They put something in an envelope. But here's another thing. You know, we put a card in an envelope, or have you draw a picture in another room. Well, you're all by yourself. You're by yourself, and you want to test yourself if you're psychic. This is great. You take a regular deck of cards, take the Joker out and everything, just a regular deck, you know, all the cards. And you say to yourself, let me put this down. You flip the cards like you were going to play cards. And you say, close your eyes and flip them, or you shuffle them. You say, and visualize. I want to pick an ace of diamonds. I'm picking an ace of diamonds. And then open the deck. I do this a lot. I do it a lot. You know. No, but I mean, I've done it a lot. And I'm blown away. It's almost like a magic trick. Now, what will come about is that you go, I didn't get that. And I didn't get it. You know, or oh wow, I got a red card. So you should practice. I mean, this is pretty, pretty, you can start saying, oh, I just want to get red cards. There'll be a pattern too. There's a pattern people do. They'll keep on picking the same card over and over. That's another story. Is there anything else? I'm having such a good time. I thank you all for being here. Oh, hi.
This is just a trivial question about Salvador Dali. You met him, and he said you wanted.
Oh, Salvador Dali.
Yeah.
Oh, no, you read the book. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I had a luncheon with Salvador Dali. But see, I went on a date with this guy that he wanted to show me his etchings. This was back in the 70s. Anyways, and he said, I want to introduce you to Salvador Dali. I go, yeah, sure, And he took me to the St. Regis where he always stayed, and he had a girlfriend then. He wasn't with his wife. It was this Spanish model. And we were around the candelabra, and he was sitting next to me. And he looked at me and he said, I could see you painting you. You'd have a green nipple and your breast would be here and your hair. He was, I should have got his autograph though. But I remember that thing, and then I looked at his hand and I said, oh, you speak many languages all at the same time. I'm so glad that I have a lot of courage. I mean, because I look at my life has been like magical. And it's because I'm always open to the unknown. I'm open to let's do that. That little child in me that wants to have fun, that wants the sweetness in life. I pray that all of you can have some sweetness in life and be kind to each other and start growing your own vegetables and eat some fat-ass fudge. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Donna. We really appreciate your being here today. Don't forget our videos next month. You join us, and Dean and Chase Moore for November. So take good care. And,
Ted,
don't forget
I'll give you an
trash.
email. I'll give you an email.